So good evening and welcome back to class. Now in the previous class we gave a foundation of CSS. We talked about inline CSS, internal and external, why it's better to always use external CSS. I also talked about when to use any of the three methods of adding CSS. Now also I created this CSS class, right? So this is what we're going to be using for our CSS. This was where I demonstrated the previous things we did. Now I'm going to, in order for me to have a nice looking working structure, I'm going to create a new folder as well. I'll call this one HTML_class, and I'll move all the previous things we did. I'll move them into that folder or that directory. Then after this, we also talked about the CSS syntax. I will say the CSS syntax is selector property :value. This is it over here. And then we want to talk about selector today, right? So on that previous class we talked about element selector, so let's just talk about selector. Now this is my CSS class. This is the index.html file, right? I'm also going to right click and open this with live server. So good, this is what I'm getting. So I will share the screen into two equal half as well. I believe you can see my screen. So this is what I'm getting. So let me just close this. So I'm going to make use of this top panel. Now, like we said in the previous class, this is CSS syntax. It states that you have a selector, then open curly bracket, property :value, right? So we also did an example of an element selector, whereby you just to select the name of the tag or the element, then you give the property and the value, right? So the CSS syntax can hold more than one property and value. So I can come back here, I can do font size 500 pixel. If I save, you can see what I'm getting, so big. Okay, let me just change it to 50 pixel. 50 is still almost the same. Let me change it to 20. You can see what I'm getting. 20 pixels is kind of small. So these are all properties and value. I can do something like background color. I will give it a background color of blue. So background color of blue, so I can see blue, small letter blue. So when I see so this is background, not border, background. So when I see, you can see what I'm getting, right? So these are properties and values. So today we're going to look at more of the properties and values. But before we look at properties and values, let's talk about selectors. So what are the kinds of selector we have, right? Now, like I said, the first one is element selector, and this is what we just looked at. Element selector is when you use the tag or the element name. Let's say for instance I have P. I can say hello, I am a paragraph, right? So when I say if I have that paragraph, so I can use an element selector to grab the paragraph. I'll say P, I will see text align to be center. You can see it's now at the center of the screen. I can see color to be green, right? You can see I'm not having a green color. I can see background color brown, and I see so that's not brown. I see brown, and I see, you see what I'm getting. So all of these are properties and values using the element selector. Now that's for that. Then what is the class selector and the ID selector? So I'm going to come here and create three divs. I'll say dot, okay, I'll say dot box, right? Dot box. Then I'll say lorem 50. Save. I'm going to this is too much because I'm zoomed in, that's why. So I'm going to duplicate this. Now I have three boxes, right? Now let's go. How do you select a class or an ID? So let's start with the class. Now if you want to select a class, class selector. Now class selectors are done using the dot or period. So if I want to select these classes, it just to say dot box. I cannot give it anything of my choice. I can say background color, should be red, right? Text color, text color is the same thing as color, right? So there's nothing like text color, it's color. So I'll say the color should be white. So if I save this, you see what I'm getting, right? I can do something like this, border or margin bottom, right? I say margin bottom should be 10 pixel. Now when I save, you see what I'm getting. That I can also give a padding. Padding is internal space, right? Padding of 10 pixel as well. Now you can see what I'm getting. All of these are properties and values, right? But now I'm no longer using the element selector, I'm now using the class selector. Now what about the id selector? I've demonstrated all of this before. Id selector, so I can, let me just create another box and call this one an id. Now if I give this an id and I go back, you notice that that one is just there, there's no styling. Now I can come back here and target the id. So id selectors are done using let me see, id selectors, right? Id selectors are done using the hash or number symbol. So I can copy all of these styles and add this to this, right? So I'll say hash box. So when I save, notice that the styling has been applied to it, or I can change the background color to a blue color. So when I save, that's what I'm getting. So this is how to do this. Remember the other day from my previous video, my previous class, I said we can have more than one class, but IDs are what? They are unique. So not that if I come here and do something like this, not that if I see ID, so look, now I'm having two IDs, not that it won't work, it will work fine, but this is not the recommended way of doing it, you get? So that's why you need to learn, you need to understand the principles behind it. So this is not, it's like an abomination or a taboo in coding. Yet IDs are supposed to be unique. When we get to JavaScript, we understand this very well. By the time you start seeing things like document.get elements by class name, document.get elements by tag name, document.get elements by ID, which is singular, so we're going to get the proper understanding. So for selector, these are the ways of selecting. Like I said, I have the element selector, I have the class selector, and I also have the ID selector. So I'm going to come back here and Ctrl Z so that this will be a class. Now don't forget, I said in the other class, I said an element can have both class and ID. So in fact, an element can have multiple class, you get? So I can come back here and add another class called let me see, italic, right? Let me see, or let me call it slant text. It must not be the name. Now I can create a class of slant text here. I'll do something like this under class selector. I can say the slant text. I'll say text decoration or font style. Font style. I'll say italics. Font style. I'll say italics. So if I save this, can you see what I'm having? This text is now being slant. So that's for that. So you can see that two classes are there. Now I can also have an ID, right? I can do something like this, an ID, and I'll say this ID should be if I say the ID should be box, notice that the color will change back to blue because IDs are more powerful when you compare them with classes. So if I save, you can see the color is now blue, right? So please take note of that. IDs are powerful when you compare them with class, and I said classes are powerful when you compare them with what's it called, with elements. Then also I said inline styling is powerful or is stronger than any of what I just said. So please take note, just to be sure we are following. Are you with me? So please, if you are with me, say something so that we know. I want to enter another section entirely. Are you with me?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
following.
good. So you are following so far.
Yes.
Okay, good. Now let's talk about more selectors, right? And there's what we call pseudo selectors. Jesus, I can't spell selectors. Now what are pseudo selector? When we say pseudo, the word pseudo means false, right? Something that is not real, just like in biology where you have pseudopoda, which means false movement. So pseudo class are classes that are not real. You get, there are classes that happen based on a certain action or when something happens. Now examples of pseudo classes are hover. So I can come back here now, I can see let me target the dot box, right? Then let me target the hover state, right? Now I can see when I hover, I want the background color to be green, because I don't have any green over here. Let me just use green. And when I come back here, notice what will happen when I hover. Remember that one is having an ID on it, so and it is the start of the ID that is there. Remember I said IDs are stronger than classes. That's why I didn't apply to that one. When I hover, you see what is happening. Hover, you see what is happening. Hover. This one is also an ID. Now if I should come back, if I change this to hash, what sure will happen? It will happen to the other ones. Can you see what is happening? It's not happening to the ones with ID. So that's their hover state. You get, so hover is an example of pseudo selector, right? There's what we call active. We saw all of this that day. So let me just go and create an anchor tag. This is where you will see it in most cases. So I'm going to create an anchor tag on my web page. Or let me just comment all of this. Ctrl Z. Comment. Right, so I'll create an anchor tag over here. I'll see click me. Right now, the active state of this link is when I click on it. Can you see what's happening? You can see a red color that flashes real quick, right? So that's the active state. I can come back here. That's an over class. I can say okay, a column active, right? I can decide to change the color to let me change it to brown. If I save this now, when I click, can you see what's happening? You can now see a brown color, or brown is too. Let me change it to tomato or coral, right? So if I do this, click on it, you can see the color. It now looks like that red. So let's just go with green. I think green will be visible, or yellow. So when I click, can you see what's happening? And there's also the active state. The active state now, sorry, the over state. I can say a column over, I want the background color to be red, right? Can you see what's happening? So that's the over state of this guy, right? So please take note of that. That's the over state. I can add things like transition and so on and so forth, but we'll see those. We'll see all of those things much more later on, right? So I'm just trying to tell you about the pseudo classes. Now there's what we call visited, a column visited, right? Remember, a visited link by default has a purple color. So I can decide to change the color now to what? I change the color to what's it called? Let me change it to this aqua. So if I save, you can see that the color has changed. That's the visited state, right? Let me just say a column unvisited, or let me just say no unvisited, just ordinary a. It's supposed to be blue by default, but let me change it now. Let me change the normal a to be color of tomato. Okay, let me use turquoise. No, turquoise is similar to this one. Let me use the tomato. Now I want to create links that have not been visited. So if I come here, create two more links and do something like me, not like me, let me just say me.com. I'm looking for something that has not been visited. If I see, can you see the me? If you remember, I said something like unvisited, which is ordinary a, right? I gave it tomato, but if I should comment this, it's supposed to be blue by default. Okay, but now I've changed it using CSS. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say all of these are methods. So all of these are examples of selectors, pseudo selectors, and the red. Now if you look, this is combining with elements. Remember we did over that combine with what's it called, the ID. We can also combine it with a class as well. So please take note, those are examples of pseudo selector, right? Let's talk about, okay, so there are more examples of pseudo selectors. We will see them soon. I think I will open W2 school what's it called, W2 school documentation. So before we do that, let's talk about combinators. What are combinators? Now, combinator is something that explains the relationship between selectors. So let's take note of that, right? When selectors contains more than one simple collector, we can include a combinator for them. You get? So examples of combinator, we can use greater than, plus, and different things. Let's see. I don't want to go into this guy because there are a lot of things to cover, right? So let's not just stress ourselves in learning all of this guy, but just know that I can select what I mostly use for my combinators. I don't like I like using space on my combinators. I don't like combining this plus, minus, and all of those stuff. To me, it's of no need. Now let me just explain what I meant by that, or what I mean by that. If I come here, come in, trying to create a space. I'm coming in. Let me just comment all of this. Wow, this is kind of much. Let me comment all of this. Now, this is where I like using combinator. I like targeting combinators from outside in, right? Now, let's say I have a div, and I have lorem. No, let me not say lorem. Let me say inside this div I have a paragraph, and I say hello world, right? Then now I have another paragraph outside. Don't forget there's a paragraph outside. So let me put another paragraph here. I'll say hello today, right? Now, watch what is happening. If I come back to my CSS, right, I can do something like p. Remember, if I do p, if I say color should be red, watch what will happen to affect all the paragraph. But now I can do a combinator. Let me say I want to style only this one, only this p. So not every time you give classes an id. Yeah, you might say no, you don't want to, you don't want to give class, you don't want to give id, you just want to do something different. I can come here and say div p. That will target only this paragraph that is inside this div. So when I come back here, save, can you see what I'm having? So that paragraph that is inside the div is now having a red color. So that's an example of combinator. You see some people doing plus and the rest of them. So if you want to get the hang of this, like you want to go deep, you can come to w3 school .com, then say css combinators, right? So take note of that. So you can come here, just learn. You see the different ones. You see the sender selector, which is what I just did, and that's what I like doing. Child selector is there, adjacent sibling, general sibling, and so on and so forth. So it's not something you will use in most cases. So I just prefer using only this. And there's what we call these combinators, right? There's what we call multiple element selector. Multiple element selector. This is when you are selecting elements using comma, right? Now what is multiple element selector? Now let's just say, for instance, I want to give the same style to different elements, right? So one of the example of multiple element selector is or you can call it grouping. Now let me say I want to give the same style to div and paragraph. Okay, let me see. If I come here, I have div inside the paragraph. Then let me see, I have an anchor tag outside. Let me just copy this anchor tag and paste this guy, right? Now watch what will happen if I come here. If I want to give the same style to my paragraph and my, what's it called, to this paragraph and my anchor tag, I can just do something like this. Or let me say to the div, if I say div comma e color red, can you see what is happening? So that's an example of grouping or multiple selector. You get what's it called? So that's one of the example. Right? That's one of the example. So another example is when I have different things and I want to select. So we're going to see them when we are building projects, right? If I want to apply the same style to two different stuff, I can use that, or I can just create a single class and give it to both stuff. Like I said, there are different ways of doing things, so you don't need to cram one method or one way of doing things. Remember I talked about pseudo class just now. There's also what we call pseudo element. Alright, I almost forgot. So we call pseudo element. So let me just talk about, so all these are pseudo classes. Pseudo element, there's also pseudo element. Let me just come here. You can see pseudo element. Pseudo element is kind of different from pseudo class in a way, in the sense that this targets part of the element. So let me just say, for instance, I have this my a tag. Now I want to say first letter, right? You can decide to say color should be green. You get? So if I do something like this and see what will happen, you can see it's not changing. The reason it's not changing is because this one is coming down after it. Now if I should put this one on top, okay, it didn't even work. Okay, so let me just remove this one. Now let's see a first letter. Why is it not changing? I'm coming. Let me try it with p. Let me just say p first letter. Okay, you can see it's changing with p, but it's not changing with a, right? I don't quite know what the issue is, but the thing is that in this web development of a stuff, links, they behave as though they are kind of separate, right? So most time I want to test it for stuff, don't use link. It's better to use an ordinary element first. So if I test it with the each one tag, you can see that it's working first letter. Then now also for this paragraph, there's also what they call the first line. I can do p, I will say colon colon first line. Let's see, I'll see background color should be yellow. Now if I see if it will affect all of them, this is because they are short paragraph. If I want to see the effect of this, I'll do something like lorem 30. Now what will happen? Can you see what's happening? That's the first line of that paragraph. So that's what that one is doing. So this is what we call pseudo elements. So please take note. There are other examples of pseudo elements. So if you want to see them, of course, you can come back here. Pseudo class css w3 school, right? So you can also search for pseudo element css w3 school. Let me see. Okay, let me click on this, then let me click on this as well. So let's just glance through. Let me see multiple element selector css w3 school, right? So let's just read through these guys here. So like I said, for this one, we've looked at this one, combinators, whereby you combine stuff by using descendants, adjacent, and so on and so forth. For spare time, just go through this. Right? Then let's see this one, pseudo classes, CSS pseudo classes. Like we said, a pseudo class is used to define a specific state of an element, right? Like we said, something that is not real. One will mouse over this. So this is an example of over pseudo class, right? This is for clicking and so on and so forth. So those are examples of pseudo class, right? So take note, selector, your pseudo class property and value. So this is all we talked about: hover, active, visited, and so on, right? So take note of that. And now for pseudo element, like we said, now the difference between a pseudo class and a pseudo element is that for a pseudo class, you tend to see one column before the class, the selector one column in pseudo class. But for pseudo element, we tend to see two columns, right? We tend to see two columns. When we did the first line, can you see what I'm having? Two column, h1 colon colon first letter, p colon colon first line, right? So please take the first line. We have the first letter. What again? Okay, only first line, first letter. Okay, there's all got the before and after as well, right? So please take note of that. After, right? So when we say before, I think it means text before that particular thing. Let's see, h1 before. Okay, this one is yet content before. Okay, there's no need. Let's not waste our time over there. You can go through it on your spare time, right? So you can see more of them here. So this grouping. So can you see what I'm having? So multiple element selector is when you do the combine them using comma. So that was what I demonstrated over here some time ago when I did div. What was it called? Okay, good. This is it here. So please take note. I just wanted to be sure. That's why I checked here, so you can see them, right? So on your spare time, go through. So those are examples of selector. Is there anything I'm missing? Okay. So there's what we call I don't quite know what I'll call this one. I don't quite know what I'll call it, or I don't know what I'll call it here. Let me just maybe I'll check for a name. Let me see. This is an input, right? Then the type is text. Input again. The type is let me say number. Right. So let me just have more text and type of number. Now if I come here, I can do something like this. I can say input. I can say border 1 pixel solid red, right? So I'll tell you what this thing means in a short time from now. You can see what I'm getting. But now I can decide to say, okay, I want to give only the input that has type, right, equal to text this style. So if I save, can you see what's happening? Or I can say I want to give the input that has type of number. You get? So this specific selection based on type. I can't quite remember what the name of this is, but it's also one of the kind of selector. So you can check later on and see. So those are the few examples of selectors I could remember. So you can check W3 school, you just see CSS selectors, right? Okay, sheet, okay, good. So different what's it called, different materials or different documentation with how they explained it. So you can read from W3 school, MDN, what's it called, okay, good. This is attribute selector. So this one I just did now is attribute selector. So we're getting it based on the attributes, where the attribute equal to a particular value, like this type equal to number. So please take note. So there are lots of them, so just go through them on your spare time, right? So before we continue, is there any question? Let's talk about more properties. Let's leave selectors alone and talk about more properties. Is there any question?
No question.
Okay, so I guess I feel okay, good, that's great. All right, that's great. So coming, so let's talk about more CSS properties, right? So I'm going to close this, sorry, comment this rather. Go back to where we were working with. Then if you look at all of this, I'm going to be removing all of them just to make my work neat and simple. So I'm going to comment these guys out, then I'll stick to just the what's it called, the h1 tag. So let's look at more properties, right? So for this I don't think I can really teach you everything under here because it's very long, you get, because we look at this, look at colors. So let's look at properties today first. Maybe on the next class we'll look at something else, but let's just see how far we can go. Let's talk about CSS properties and values, right? So what are the different properties and values we can have? So let's take for instance this h1. Remember, this is an element selector, right? I can do something like okay, right here. I can do something like color. Like I said, color refers to the text color. I can give it red. If I say red, it will change to red. I can say blue, right? I can say blue, violet, right? So which is the same thing as purple, right? So and so on and so forth. So this is just it. So when we say color, that refers to the color of the text, right? Now there's also what we call background color, or there's also what we call background, right? Now background is the general name for it. Now when I say background can take, I say this can take image or color or something else, as the case may be, right? So if I say background, I can say color, sorry, background, I'll say red, it will still give a background color. I can also add an image sef, do gradient. What is gradient? Two colors, right? So that's an example of that's what the background is doing. You can add gradient, which is two colors. You can add an image. You can add the image and gradient together. You can add only color. So that's what it does. That's what it's doing. I don't want to go into more, I don't want to give more examples, right? So just know. Then now there's also what we call background color, right? Background color can only give color, you get. So if I come here and say background color, I can give it blue, right? When I give blue, this is what I'm having, blue and purple. So that's what the background is doing, the background color is doing. This can only give color, just take note of this. Then now there's what we call which property can I give again? There's what we call font size. So let's talk about font. So this let me just call this one background properties, right? Now there's what we call font properties. So let's talk about font properties. Font properties, right? So if I say font, right? So font is the general name. I can say red 20 pixel, right? I can say italic. So if I do this and save, okay, it didn't change. I'm supposed to do one first for the other. So is this size that comes first? I can't really remember. I can't quite remember. But what this thing mean, or what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to do both font color, font size, and font style. So let me just separate it. I can't quite remember which one comes first. If you check my CSS tutorial, I think you are going to see it. One of them is supposed to come first. So what is that supposed to give? I'm supposed to get font size of set. Okay, sorry. I've seen my mistake. I've seen my mistake. I want to say red, right? I'm not supposed to say red. Red is a color and not a font stuff. So when I save, this is what I'm getting. So this is 20 and it leaks, right? So I can do something like font size, font. I'm coming. Let me say font. Size. Good. Yeah, I can say Verdina or sans serif. Sans, or is it this size that normally contains? Okay, let me remove this. Okay, I'm coming. Okay, I know what to do. So I'll come here, I'll say font family. So let me take one of these, right? No, I don't want this one. So I'll say Verdina. Good. So I want to take sans serif. So if I take this guy out, I can add this at the front. I remove this. So let me see what this guy will give. Can you see what is happening? Okay, it didn't work. It changed everything. Okay, fine. Let me not stress myself. Some of these things, when you stop using them, you are going to forget them. So like I said, font is the general name. Then you can decide to give different stuff to it. So now let me just say font size. Font size specifies the size of the text, right? I can see x large. So if I say okay, xs large, so I can choose based on pixel. I can say 90 pixel. Let's see what we get. I can see what I'm getting. 90 is big, right? So this is based on font size, based on numeric value or unit. Then now there's what we call font family. Font family specifies the kind of text or the kind of font decoration or style. I don't know what to call it, because back then in MS Word they used to call font style or something like so. I can see Verdina or this. If I see, you can see that it has changed. Now what this is doing is that to look for Verdina, if you can't find Verdina, it will use Geneva. If you can't see that, it will use Tauma. If you can't see Tauma, it will use sans serif, right? I can also decide to give a single value by just providing any of them, right? So you don't need to learn all of these, because in most cases when you are building a website, you might likely use Google fonts or import a font, a custom font. So please take note of that. So this is what we call the font family. Now there's what we call the font style. That one is quite different. Font style is what we give bold. Coming font style. Font style is what we give bold, italics, and so let me just say italics. So this will give a slant text, right? Okay, I think I've demonstrated. Okay, I've not demonstrated that before. So that's it. Now I can say font weight. Font weight is what we give something like this. If I say 700 to give okay. Now let me just say bold. So if I do this, this is a heading, so it is bold by default, right? So let me change this to a paragraph. And I'll go back and look for a paragraph, or let me just uncomment this Can you see what I'm getting? Can you see what I'm getting? So if I say bold or remove the bold, you can see it's now light, right? So you can notice the style. If I see, you can see bold and okay. So take note of that. Now that's for that. So these are examples of fonts properties and values. So there are different values. So you just need to learn as much as you can, because definitely you're not going to be using or when building a website. Now let's look at fonts again. So there are other stuff here. Display variant. I don't think I've used any of these other ones. You get, like I said, there are many things to learn, but then not all of them you apply. You just need to learn the basic ones that you'll be applying. So take note of that. Yeah, now let's talk about what should we talk about again? So just take note of our designing. We now know what to do. So I don't want to talk about box model today. Box model should be next week. So let's talk about colors. After colors, I think we'll round up. Colors should be the last thing we'll talk about tonight. Now calm down. So let me say colors, right? Now in CSS there are different ways of giving colors, right? So let me just talk about them. Now many, but we are just going to be looking at color names, which is the regular color names or normal color name. Then we'll also look at HTML5 special color name or HTML5 color names, right? Then we'll look at RGB color values. Before RGB, we'll look at hexa. You see, hexadecimal color values, RGB color values, RGBA color value, can spell, right? Then we'll look at HSL. No, we're not going to be looking at HSL. There's HSL, let me just tell you. But we're not looking at this. I don't think I've used them before, just once or twice. There's what we call HSLE color values. In fact, there's CYMK and many of them. Let me just, okay, good. Can you see what I'm having? So you can see different color HSL, this. So let's just leave all of these. We are not going to be using them, like I said. Now let me explain these basic ones, then on your spare time you can go through the other ones. Now regular color names. So let me just go back. Take note, the properties remains the same. Let me just remove this, right? So if I come back here and say I want a color of red, so red is an example of a regular color name. Blue, pink, purple, those normal colors, so that are examples of regular color name. Now there's what we call HTML5 color. HTML5 color are those colors. So let me just come here, let me just say, okay, example, when I say color red and etc, or color blue and etc, right? HTML5 comes with color names. You start hearing some funny color names. So things like if I say color, right? So can you see what I'm having? Aquamira, Azure, tomato. There are lots of them. So let me just take any of this one. You see those funny color names you don't know before? Those are HTML5 special colors, I guess. Alright, yeah, that is supposed to be, right? Then now there's what we call the hexadecimal color. Now what are hexadecimal color? In fact, if I put it to overwrite it, hexadecimal color values, hex color, they contain hash symbol, hash 0 to 9 and A to F, right? Now what do I mean? This is gotten from the combination of 6 digits. So if I say color, it's 6 characters plus the hash. So if I say color and I put hash symbol at the front, I can say A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. So this will give me a color, it's a valid color, right? Now anything, but if I put anything that is not within here, that is to say anything that is not hash or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9 or A, B, C, D, E, F, it won't work. Let me say for instance now I have G here, it won't work because that's not a valid stuff. Remember that color was coming from the other one, right? So please take note of that. So take note, so S color must be anything within this range, right? Now there's what we call, you need to know S color for black, white, red, blue and green, because red, blue, green are primary colors and black and white are natural colors, so you need to know them. Now why should you know this? Because you can't call yourself a developer and don't know the basic things. That's just the truth. Maybe ask a question, you just need to be able to stand up and say something. So let's learn the black, right? Now black is let me just say black, sorry, black. Black is when you have something like this. Still on next color, if I say ash 0000000, so this is 6 zeros will give me black, or I can say 3 zeros, which is ash 000. So please take note, will still give me black. Then now for white, right? For white I need the color, then I will say ash fff. So 6 of it. You can see white and white background. You can see I can do something for you to see it very well. I can see background or body. You see background color. Say gray. That's what I'm getting. So take note of that. So I can see color should be hashtag fff. It's still the same thing, right? So take note of that. So let me say red. So for the red, I can have something like this. Color should be hash ff0000. That's to say, remember this thing is something like this. I'm coming. So what we are doing, we are simply saying the color is something like either hash red, green, blue, or hash red, green, blue. So that's what we're trying to do. So when the value of red is maximum and the other ones are minimum, to give me red color, right? So for green, I will have something like this. I'll say color 00ff00, right? So I need to put the hash at the front, so that will give me green, right? So for blue, sorry, so for the blue I'm going to have something like this. Sorry, color, I want to spell blue, so I'll see hash 0000ff when the blue is maximum. So please take note of that. So these are color values using this. So we can also use for this, I can also do something like this. I can say color could also be so just look at it from here to change from here. So no need to look at the browser at this time. Just see, if I see arch and I see f00, you can see it's giving me red over here, right? So for this I can say color, I'll say hash I'm going to see 0f0, right? So you can see it's still giving me, right? So it's equivalent to the RGB value of what we see just now. I'll say color I'll say arch 00f, right? So please take note of this, guys. So just try to understand it. What about the RGB colors? Now RGB color is a mixture of red, green, and blue. So RGB means RGB, I'll say red, green, and blue, right? So I'm going to remove this HSL and this. Like I said, we won't talk about them. RGBA means red, green, blue, sorry, then alpha, which represents opacity, right? So take note of this, guys. So I'm going to comment this, and I'll comment this as well. Now just take note, this one is still similar to the red, green, and to the other one. So if I say color, right, and I want the RGB of black, I'll say RGB to 0,0,0, right? Now this one contains color values ranging from 0 to 255. 255 is the maximum, 0 is the minimum. So that will be for black. So if I duplicate this for white, I'm going to get 255. So for white, I'm going to get 255, 255, 255. So that will give me white. Then for red, I'm going to get color RGB. I'll say 0, 255, 0, 0. So when I save, you can see that will be red. So let me just duplicate this. I'll say 0. So this will be green now. See, 255. Can you see what I'm getting? So if I do this, I'm going to get for blue 0. Let me just delete this. So 0 comma this. So this will give me blue. So take note of that, right? And now what's now the RGBA? Remember I said it stands for red, green, and blue, and alpha or opacity. So I'm going to let me demonstrate this using the green, right? So if I come back here and I paste this guy, don't need this one. Now the opacity, remember opacity value ranges from 0 to 1. So if I say 0.1, right, what should happen? I'm getting a faint green, right? So if I say 1 is the maximum, I'll get the green standing out. If I say 0.5, that's what I'm getting. It's now faint, or it's not a fainted color in a way. Now this is mostly when we want to do mirror kind of coloring. So let me say I want to use the blue of it, so I'll just delete this, right? So the reason I'm using blue is because blue is already my last color. So I'm going to so let me say 255 then comma. Now I'm going to make use of background color and not color, right? So I'll click this, change it to background color, right? Let me just duplicate this and change this to background color. I don't want to delete anything, that's why I'm still leaving it there. Okay, so I'm going to delete this, right? But for now I'm going to comment this one so that it will be a green text. So this is an example. Then now if you look now, this is the one working, the opacity guy as well is working. If I save, you can see that the blue background is now dark. So I can do a over color of this. I will say p column over. So this is the mirror we've been talking about. Right, so I can do this, copy this guy, then paste it over here, right, on comment. So if I save, when I over, can you see what I'm having? This is the example of the mirror, right, I've been talking about. I can change this guy to RGBA, make it a little, if I want the glass effect to really come out, I will say this should be 0.4. Now when I save, can you see what is happening? Okay, let me just make it 0.8. so you can see what is happening. So a better way to see this is by creating more of this. If I create more of it, save, and I try to, let me just zoom this out. This is really not fine. Let me put it out. It's not beautiful, but again you get to. In fact, let me just come and make this background for my CSS. I want to make this a right. Let me make this a 0. Or let me make it a 1. Okay, it's not even coming. Let me see 0.1. Okay, fine. Let me leave it at 0.5. But again, you see what I'm trying to portray. It's now kind of glassy in a way. But that one looks like purple at the back. But then you just see. So this is it. So that's for that. So making use of the RGB and creating kind of a, just make it just to do something nice. So that's for that. So for colors, this is all we're going to be talking about for colors today or tonight. I'm going to go back to W3 school, then show you more colors you can play with later on. So this is the HSL. I think it's down to hue, saturation, and something. Okay, hue, saturation, and lightness. Good. So you can play with it. Say it ranges from 0 to 360. You see a lot of things, color wheel, color, just go through this guy later on and do something. So let me go back to the call. So are you still with me? Is there any question? Any questions so far?
No question. No question.
Okay, so we are still going to learn more properties as time goes on, but for now I think what we've learned, we can put them together to create something. But I don't want to rush you. I'll give you an assignment. So in our next class we'll start from CSS box model. So in our next class we're going to start from css box model. So that is where we start from. I'm going to say next class, so which is Monday, right? But before then, I want us to do something together. Let me just take this guy here. If you remember, on the first day of this class, I give you an assignment to, build something simple, and you did it. I saw it. That was nice. So let's just assume that I want to add a bit of style into our web page. So let's just style this web page. You get? Remember what we did over here was just learning, right? So I don't want to remove that guy. I can create another one. I'll call this one index.css, right? So inside my index.html, I'm going to rename this to be index.css. Remember, we did the linking in the last class, so I forgot to do it when we started. So if I save, that style will no longer be there, right? So I can come back here, index.css. So now there's what we call universal selector. Good, I didn't talk about this. Now universal selector is done using the hash. Now this is selecting, the asterisk or star. This will select everything on your web page. So most of the time you want to do something like margin 0 pixel. When I save, this was happening. There's no margin, no default margin, because remember by default they come with a default margin and padding, but now you are removing all of them. I can say padding 0 pixel as well, so no default padding as well. And I can say box sizing to be border box. Now we're going to understand this by next we're going to do css box model. Right now this is zoomed in, so let me zoom out. No, not here. This is zoomed in, so let me just zoom out. Sorry, control plus, control minus. Good. So let me just do something like this. Now how many percent is it now? Okay, 150. What? So let's just leave it like that. Now I can do something like the heading. I'll give it a background color of let me say blue, right? Then I can give it a color of white. Now let me tell you the principle behind design. If you are giving your background a dark color, make sure your text color is light, or something that we can see through. I can't give both of them blue purple. You get? If I say blue and purple now, you notice that it's very difficult for us to see the text. So that's why you must do something like this, something that will stand out. You get? Now I can give a text align of center. So don't forget, text align is what will align your text. I have center, left and right. So by default is left. So if I do this, you can see. So with projects, that's what we use in learning css the most, or that's the best way of learning css. I can say padding. Padding means space, which is internal space. So I can say 20 pixel. So this will be all around, but let me use 10 pixel because 20 is too big. Now there's also what we call margin. Margin is an external space. We'll learn that I think next week when we are doing css box model. Margin is an external space. So if I do this and save, you can see now the space is now external. But let me just leave. Let me go back, Ctrl Z, and leave this, right? So that's for that. Then now for my divs, I just want to give a simple styling. Div, I want to give a padding of let me say 10 pixel around, right? So take note. Now I want to paragraph. There are no divs, they are paragraph. So I want to give a padding of this, right? Then also I want to put them in a div, right? So this is what I will do. I'll come back here. I can put them in a div. I'll say dot container. When you say dot this will create a div with a class of container, right? So let me just paste this guy over here. Now let me go and start that container. So if I want to start the container, I can do something like dot container, right? Can give a padding of 20 pixel top and bottom, then left and right 50 pixel. So let me see. That's what I'm getting, right? So if you look at the text, it's kind of this side is arrange and the other side is not. So that is done using text align of justify. So I can say text align justify. So the more you do project, the more you see more class and stuff to use, right? Then now 50 is too big. Let me just make this thing 20 so that it will be uniform all around, right? So for the paragraph, I can give a background color of let me see, okay, let me see. Okay, now I want to give the body a background color of gray. Remember hash FFFF is white all through, right? 6 F's, 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? So I can do something like FE FE FE. This is not pure white. So now I can now come back here, the paragraph, and give a background color of white. I don't think you can see the difference. So let me just, you can hover and you see a color, anyone you want to use. So let me just use this one, right? Or let me just use gray. I think it's better. This is too dark. I'm just looking for something not too white. Okay, good. Okay, good. Now for this, I can come back here and give a margin button of 10 pixels. So as you can see, we've done this simple styling, right? So if I take this out, that's what I'm getting, right? When it's small, this is what I will get. I can do a little bit of media query to this. I can add a little bit of media query. Like I said, this is just like a play or sample. Next week we'll do something nice. So this is what I will do. Now for the padding of this guy, where is it? For the container, remember I said padding of what's it called? Padding of 20 pixel. I can say 20 pixel. Let me say 100 pixel as well, right? Then I can now do responsive design. I'll say at media screen and max width of 500 pixel. I want to change the padding of this of container. I'm going to say the padding should be 20 pixel all around. So if I save, this is what I will get. So when I'm on big screen, this is what I will get on small screen. And this is what I'm getting. So take note. So this is kind of responsive design. So like I said, this is just this is not a real project. From next week we'll do something more better and more, more understanding. So the reason I did this was because I want to give you an assignment. I'm going to be sending this design over to you, then you're going to design it over the weekend. And so guys, thanks very much for joining. I really do appreciate your time. See you in the next class where we will talk about CSS box model. I think it's a CSS box model. So guys, bye for now.